Drink with James, episode 22. Welcome. So I was feeling a little nostalgic about the number. In 8th grade, I played football. My number was 22. I was 4'8", 71 pounds. It was the first year that this school had a football team. And our first game, we played this school that was 5 times the size of our school. Both in students, but also in this football team, which these people were massive, okay? And we were losing 56-0, if I remember correctly. And I had never played football in my life. It was my first game, and I was sitting on the bench because I was 4'8" and weighed 70 pounds. But I hear the coach from, maybe 20 yards away yelling my name, Nord, 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 where's Nord? Looking to put me in. There was no fucking way I was going into that game and playing against those monsters. So I just kind of hid behind one of our linemen so that he couldn't see me until he grabbed someone else and threw them in. And that is how I avoided death in 8th grade football. So, moving on to questions.
Did you play any more football?
I didn't. I promptly quit football. It's a rite of passage as a Southerner, though. I mean, we had, I think, 200 boys in our high school, and I think our football team had, 94 people on it or something. Like, everyone played football. Exciting news is that next week, after this one, we're gonna have some guests, one, maybe two guests. So it's not just gonna be me, but we're gonna be talking to some other people, getting some more viewpoints, and hopefully some more good advice. I know y'all like it when we have other people, so. Look forward to that, and as always, questions, send them in. So you've taken the advice, brands come to you, they say, I want to work with you, and you say, okay, sure, what's the budget, right? And then you hear, nothing, that's silence. You get nothing back, right? What do you do? So don't panic. First of all, okay? First of all, the first thing to do is just after a couple days, just reply to the email and say, hey, just, pinging you to put this to the top of your inbox. Let me know your thoughts. If you don't hear back again, they probably don't have a budget, right? And then you have to think, okay, do I want to work and do this for free and try and get this collaboration, or I just want to let it slide? My suggestion would be if you've asked for a budget and they haven't even bothered responding, they weren't super interested in working with you anyway, and it's probably not worth your time. So I personally wouldn't respond, but if it's a brand you really love, I would suggest reaching out and saying, hey, there potentially could be another way we could work together. Let's at least just jump on the phone and talk this thing out and see if we can come to an agreement. The goal is always to get them to respond, get them on the phone, get them to want to meet you. So whatever you can do to push them to respond and to agree to one of those things, to a deeper meeting, try that. I mean, it's dead when they say no. I mean, a sale, they say there's no no's in sales, there's only soft yeses. So when they're just I have no interest in working with you, please stop emailing me, that is when it's dead. But the persistence is not a bad thing. I know me personally, sometimes we'll get 5, 10 emails from someone until I finally respond. And I actually appreciate the persistence because we all get busy and you forget to respond to things, and sometimes what it takes is emailing them at the right moment when they have a minute to respond, and they'll just take care of it right then. So try emailing them at different times, early in the morning, later in the afternoon, around lunch, whatever it might be. But you can keep following up until they say, please stop following up. No, the persistence, it never deters me personally. Again, I've done sales, so I know the hustle, I know what they're going through, so I respect that. If I say no and you keep following up, I could potentially get annoyed. If I've taken the time to respond and say, thanks so much, right now not interested, I'm not interested. If I say, thanks so much, not interested, but could be in 6 months, make a note in your calendar to reach back out, because that's super impressive when you say, hey, this sounds great, but we don't have time for it right now, or budget, or whatever it might be, and that person follows up when I tell them to, that makes me have a lot more faith in their ability to deliver on what they're talking about. Yeah, I would say keep going till you hear a no. Yeah, it's not dead until it's dead. That said, if you've emailed a few times and they haven't responded to your question of is there a budget, chances are it's already dead. But you can keep fighting for it. You never know. This is tough. You know, not looking awkward in front of camera is difficult. And as you know, we've been putting up some stuff from the For You talk we had on photography. So if you haven't seen those on Facebook yet, check them out. We've cut them up into some shorter videos, and we also have the full video there. And as you guys may or may not know, I used to be a photographer, and I struggled with this all the time of how to get people who aren't models to look good in photos and to not feel awkward. So a couple things I would do. One, I would always give someone some booze if they were a little bit shy or awkward. It's embarrassing sometimes to have your picture taken in public. I feel that way. I honestly don't like being in front of the camera, especially on like a public busy street, especially with someone holding a professional camera. It just feels like narcissistic. And it is, right? Inherently it is fairly narcissistic, but it's so like out there and just like, I am having somebody take my photo because I think that like I'm so important that my photo should be taken. Like that feels weird. So if you can't just get over that, which I understand because I've always struggled with it as well, sometimes a little nip of booze can help loosen people up and make it fun. The other thing is like your first 50 photos from any shoot are probably going to be garbage. Unless you're like a pro and you're good at this and you know your poses and your angles and you know the photographer you're working with. If you're working with somebody new, or if you're shooting somebody, or you're getting shot by somebody you haven't worked with, like make sure you take a good amount of photos that first session, because it takes a while to get to know someone and to trust them. It's a really intimate thing, taking someone's photo, so that takes a while to build that trust and rapport. Another thing I saw someone do, this was actually something I saw celebrities do on the red carpet, which I didn't know they did, is that they look down. When they don't want their photo taken, they look at the ground and then they look up and smile for like 2 or 3 seconds and then they look back down. That way they don't have like awkward photos of them readjusting their smile or like, you know, moving their hair around. They don't get like ugly, gross photos taken of them. So that's something to consider too, is that you don't want to be holding a pose of any type for more than a few seconds. Look up, look down, make sure your arms and legs are moving, rock back and forth, get on your tippy toes, rock back to your heels, move your arms. Another one I like to do when people are really awkward and I have to loosen them up is a lot of movement. You know, because once people kind of get rigid in front of camera and they're just like, I don't know what to do with my hands, like what should I be doing here? So if you just get them to walk, so what I would do is if you feel awkward in front of the camera, you have a photographer with you, walk away from them, and then like 4 paces out of your walk, the photographer's walking behind you, just spin around in a circle, get them to take a photo when you're turned facing them, and then keep spinning, and keep doing that. That motion is really fluid, and you're thinking about not tripping and falling on your face more than looking awkward in the photo. So those kinds of things, those kinds of movement can loosen you up because you're doing natural things instead of sitting there trying to pose. Okay, so what makes great sponsored content? As you might guess, is the same thing that makes great content. If you can't make a sponsored post look as good or better than your normal posts that aren't sponsored, then you shouldn't be doing that post. And I would encourage you, if you're taking a brand's money, to really think about what you can do to make it special and go the extra mile. And that, you know, that sponsored post should look, again, as good or better than your normal post that you do. Partially because you don't want your audience to dislike your sponsored posts. You know, if you have a feed and let's say you're getting 1,000 likes on a post and you're getting 500 likes on your sponsored posts, brands are going to catch on to that pretty quickly and see that your audience isn't reacting well to the sponsored content that you're doing. So you really want the sponsored stuff you're doing to be as effective or more effective ideally than the things you're doing that aren't sponsored. Because going back to a brand and saying, hey, my average engagement rate on 4Card is 1%, and on this sponsored post it was 2%, like we did great. My audience obviously loves your products. We should work together in a bigger capacity. You can back yourself up with data. But coming in and saying, I usually do 1% and getting 0.5% engagement is not going to look great. You're going to have a hard time closing them second time around. Yeah, I think you put some more thought, put some thought into it. Think about how you could be creative, what you could do different. The basis of any photograph is light, right? So like make sure you have great light if you're shooting it outside. Don't go out at noon and shoot the sponsored post on your lunch break. It's just not gonna look great. So go the extra mile to make sure you're shooting, an hour after sunrise or an hour before sunset, and maybe, if you can tell a little story with the brand, then that's great. If it's a kind of elevated evening wear kind of brand, let's say you're wearing like a party dress of some sort, like shooting in a place that feels grand and feels like special is going to help elevate that post, and it's going to make the clothes look better. They're working with you because they want their products, whether that's clothing or accessories or food or whatever it might be, or a hotel property. They want that to look amazing, so good that people think, I need that in my life. So think about that, and remember you're selling products. And, if you're taking people's money, you are selling products. So what is the best way to sell that dress, that handbag, that hotel room, that restaurant to your followers, and do that? That's it. Episode 22 is done. Thank God on the whiskey. And it's Friday afternoon, and it's fall in New York City, and I am going to get out of here. Cheers. Have a good weekend.